Hello, and welcome to the Way of the Illuminated Warrior Global Summit. My name is Waska, also known as Perry Finkelstein, and I'm very excited to be hosting this series of mindful experts who are going to share with you their wisdom, their knowledge, their stories, and their heartfelt expressions to help you to find balance and healing and authenticity in your lives. So it's with great pleasure that I introduce today's first guest. Her name is Amaji Dona Lightsey, and she's the creator of the Violet Alchemy Healing, Purification, and Empowerment, which is an ascension modality for those who are ready to enter a spiritual path and to take responsibility for their karma, healing, and upliftment in these times of accelerated change. She's been teaching in the Sacred Mystery School tradition since 2005, channeling and transmitting divine light frequency from the enlightened realms of the Ascended Masters and Archangels. In 2005, her languages of light began to birth through her, and now she speaks and channels through many bandwidths of light to activate the DNA of crystalline consciousness, which supports and strengthens the body of light and purification in all of us, and helps with heavy and disharmonious attachments within the energy body. And this is all for the empowerment and the healing of one's being. Amaji has taught Violet Alchemy Mystery School for 7 years and facilitated thousands of healing and cleansing of spaces for over the past 20 years. She is a master energy healer, a celestial sound shaman, and a high priestess. She's a graduate mentor of the Divine University and also offers sessions of the Happy Heart and Peaceful Mind. Amaji resides in New Paltz, New York, and is the keeper of the Violet Alchemy Shakti Temple. It's with great pleasure that I welcome my friend, Amaji.
So honored, Waska, to be with you here today. And I'm excited to see what evolves here between us and for the collective.
Beautiful, my friend, beautiful. So I invited you not just because of your beautiful heart and soul, but because I really resonate with the kind of work that you're doing, and I really feel that you're going to be offering some great wisdom to our audience, especially the men. You know that I work with the men and boys, and I think it's really important to have a perspective from a grounded, authentic woman like yourself. So before we get too into it, I'd like you to elaborate a little bit on your journey, where you came from really in life and how you got to be at this place of being grounded, of doing this energy work and offering what you do to the people.
Wow. Okay. In 3 sentences?
Maybe 4. Who is the essence of Amaji?
Well, I would say that many years ago, when I was in my late 20s, I met a spiritual teacher, and his name is John Sheridan, and he actually really activated my being by sitting with me once a week for about 2 years. We would sit and we would meditate, and he is what I would consider a master in the physical form. And he really taught me how to step upon the spiritual path. And he was my first spiritual teacher. And then since then, I've had a number of other spiritual teachers that have been super significant in my life. So with the practice of meditation and with the practice of energy healing and self-awareness, we have been on this accelerated and long path, couple of decades now, of activating, opening up our energy field and doing our own spiritual work. And what I mean by that is working on cleansing, clearing, transmuting the unresolved psychological baggage or karma that every soul brings in. And it has been a deep path for me and a very devoted and dedicated path for a couple of decades now doing this work. I met other spiritual teachers, Stephen Thayer, who is a creator of IET, who really was a mentor for me and really opened up my world to energy healing. And then I met Tom Kenyon, who also helped me to activate my sound healing capabilities. And each master teacher that I worked with supported me to remember parts of myself that had been forgotten. And my last teacher, who I've been working with for the past 15, maybe 13 years, I believe, 2005, is Kuala Sri Ama Phoenix. She has been highly instrumental in my life. And I still work with her within the Divine University. So she's been an incredible teacher for me to catalyze and propel and accelerate my work. So although I've been a teacher for many years, I've also been a student. And I never stopped learning, and I never stopped considering myself a student of the Great Mystery. I think that's a key for many people.
Yeah. Well, they say when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Mm-hmm.
Now you said something in there to remember. So I would like you to elaborate on that, because there's a widespread thought in this spiritual community, if you will, that we're here for a specific purpose. And we already know what that purpose is. We just need to remember what that purpose is, because we're not here to slave over a job so we could have 2 weeks of vacation and to gather more and more, material things and to bitch and moan about this and that. We're here for a purpose, a divine sacred mission and purpose. So when I hear you say to remember, that's what I think of. So please elaborate a little bit more on what you mean by that.
Okay, so what I mean by that is to remember is to bring into your conscious awareness your own inner guidance so that you can be a beacon unto yourself. Because most people walk around in a forgetfulness state, very much attached to the ego. And we believe that what the ego is saying is true. But the ego operates from a place of unresolved energies, limiting thoughts. The ego operates out of fear. And what we need to do is we need to be able to connect to the multidimensional self, to connect to our higher selves, our divine nature. And how do we do that? Well, we do that through working through meditation, yoga. There's different ways that people can access their higher consciousness. And we can have a whole conversation about how to do that. But one of the first things I believe that we need to do is start taking responsibility of our fears, our limiting beliefs, our grudges, our judgments, our suffering, our pain. And when we can begin to transmute that or heal that, and you can do that, there's many ways to do that. I support people through energy healing to transmute those energies through the field so they're not so loud and vibrating, and that they come into a place of balance, into a place of returning to love in the energy field. So it is not weighing you down. So it's not aggravating you. So it's not creating angst within you. And so you can move into a place of neutrality, to a place of acceptance, to a place of forgiveness that will allow more peace and more awareness. So to remember, what I'm talking about is to recognize and remember that everyone has a birthright to move out of the ego state and move into an expanded state of awareness, an expanded state of love and light by remembering where they came from. What I mean by that is, where do we come from? Well, we come from source, we come from love, we come from light, we come from a creator power, which means if we are born out of that, then we are that. So how do we access that? And what I teach people is how to access that connection, so that through meditation, through healing, through divine light frequencies, through transmissions of divine light, to transmissions of divine love, which we call Shakti, one can begin to move beyond the three-dimensional experience into fifth, sixth, that's Christ consciousness or crystalline consciousness or Buddha. Awakened consciousness is a higher dimensional bandwidth of light, we'll say, or energy, so that you can rise yourself out of the three-dimensional polarized experience of duality, which is where frustration, pain resides. And if you can learn how to get into your Zen space, you know what I mean? Then you're going to be able to have much more control. You're going to have much more authority and much more sovereignty in your life. And you will feel a lot more empowered in your everyday life and in your relationships. So to remember is to remember that you're a spiritual being having a human experience.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Nice elaboration there, my friend. That was great. So speaking about duality, and which is all the complementary opposites, the yin and the yang, and the male and the female, the light and the dark. We can't have one without the other. I talk to the guys a lot in the group that I facilitate, the Way of the Illuminated Warrior. So we speak a lot about the duality of what's within each of us. So you'll hear the terms sacred feminine and divine masculine. And a lot of the guys who are, guys, they hear sacred feminine. I'm not sacred feminine. I don't have any of that sacred feminine stuff in me, and they don't really understand. It's not about being like a girl, or it's about embodying all that is within each one of us. So the compassion, the creativity, the co-creativeness, the intuition, all of that we each have within us. But as men, we're really not bred, we're not born into until we remember that these parts of us are so essential to have a fully holistic life and to have good relationships with our partners, with our parents, with our sisters, with our mothers, with our grandmothers, and to fully embody and understand what it means to be within that sacred feminine and have a divine masculine within ourselves, also be in that co-creation space. So share a little bit about your understanding of that and how we integrate that in a good way.
Okay, so this morning, I was coming out of my dream state, and I was seeing, I was being shown something to share with you all today. And I understand when someone can't understand that they when they are categorized as having sacred or divine feminine qualities, or a woman having sacred divine masculine qualities. So first of all, what does that even mean? What is the sacred feminine and what is the sacred masculine, right? We have these two opposing forces that truly we want unified, because if you can have union with your masculine and feminine, you're going to feel whole. You're going to feel strong. You're going to feel vibrant. You're going to know your love. You're going to feel your light. You're going to be empowered, and you're going to be able to walk in the world in a much more sovereign way and a much more peaceful and happy way. So we want peace of mind, and we want happiness in our heart. And for us to be able to attain that, we have to accept that we have both qualities within us. The sacred masculine, as I see it, are qualities of truth and wisdom, gentleness, protection or safety, providing protection and safety, action, being able to engage your will and move forward in your life, having the guidance to know where to go, to what to do, And, you know, those are just some of the qualities. And the sacred feminine would be more the ability to nurture oneself, to heal oneself, to be able to give love, receive love, but more importantly, to know love of self, to be able to hold the energy of compassion for other beings, and to tap into their creative nature, creator and creative. And then there's a third that I want to talk about. You have the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine, but you also have what we would call the divine child energy, the inner child within you that needs to be addressed. And what did that inner child not get in this lifetime from their elders that leaves them wanting, that leaves them distrustful or wounded? And that divine child, you know, that I look at as that the purity, the innocence, and that spark of creation. So to be able to tap into your creation energy, to be able to tap into your light, the truth, the wisdom of who you are, and to be able to tap into your love and your healing capacity and creativity, you know, all of this is like the Trinity that we speak of inside of you. We all have this Trinity. And the more that one is willing to look at these three parts of themselves and heal, bring healing, or bring awareness to, wow, I'm all of this. Well, what does my child need? What does my feminine need? What does my masculine need? And to be able to walk through life in that way, to understand that taking responsibility for healing these three parts, or activating or awakening these three parts of oneself, can only support you to have more peace, to have more happiness, and to feel in charge, to be able to create the life that you want. So the ascension path, or everything that we're talking about, when you talk about how to remember, you know, what are we here to remember? We're here to remember that we are creator beings. But we're not entitled. You know, we're here to serve the earth. We're here to serve Mother Earth. We're here to serve our lineage, our family, our ancestors, as well as serving ourselves. So we, you know, it just doesn't get handed to you on a silver platter. We have to do, well, we don't have to do anything. Free will and free choice. That's the beauty of the third dimension, is that there's free will and free choice. But if you want to move out of the third dimensional experience and tap into a higher, more enlightened or spiritual or devoted, committed path to knowing yourself as a creator, well, then, you know, you want to engage a little bit more.
Yeah. Wow. That's great. Some really wonderful, great points there. And the third aspect there, and the inner child, the sacred child, if you will. Yeah, that's such an important aspect to bring in, because really so much of the trauma and the past blockages that we get comes from our upbringing. Of course, it's environmental and there's other stimulus and things that happen, but really, you know, our upbringing, our rearing with our parents, and what happens, you know, as we, really from even before we even come out of the womb. But yes, you know, when we come upon this earth, really what we see within our parents and our relationships and all is so key. So a lot of that trauma really does come from when we are that child being, you know, not just speaking in an energetic way, but in a literal physical way. So yeah, that's such a great point.
Well, you know, I would like to speak about that for a second, because the inner child, you know, comes in, and it is truly my belief that every soul chooses their parents. So why would we choose a life being born, for example, into a family, let's say, of alcoholics, or to be born into a family where mom wasn't emotionally present, or dad was physically abusive, or whatever the dynamics were that created pain and suffering for the child. And a lot of people wrestle with this, like, you know, and on the path of learning, and on the journey home to, you know, remembering, we have to meet these parts of ourselves, you know. And I teach a lot about sacred relationship and how to come to terms with the struggle that the inner child has, or the lover with your partner, you know, regarding the dysfunctions that have happened, the pain and suffering that was endured. And so how do we wrestle with that? How do we meet that? And how do we come to terms with that? And what I want to say is that, you know, when we choose on a soul level, and I'm not saying that the personality likes this, we're just saying that on a soul level, a soul, it incarnates, comes into physical form to learn something, to heal something, to meet something. So if someone holds a lot of suffering and blames, you know, their partner for the pain and suffering that they experience, or blame their childhood or their parents, and they get very stuck in their storyline of what they endured or what they had to experience. And I'm not saying that it's not real and that it's not valid, because there's trauma in the body, right, from that.
Oh, yeah.
But what I want to open up the window to is that, well, on a soul level, we have certain experiences because we're here to learn something. So if the soul needs to learn about forgiveness, the first experiences that they will have in their life will be about pain and suffering, so that they can learn how to forgive. And that forgiveness may not come until age 35 or 45 or 55 or 65. But if we can, like, open the door to say, hey, you as a creator being have the power to forgive. And through the forgiveness, you can alleviate some of your pain and suffering.
Yeah.
My question is, are you willing? Are you willing to stop blaming? Are you willing to stop shaming, whether it's yourself or another, you know? And if people are willing to step onto that path to really take responsibility and look at the bigger reasons on a soul level as to why they are experiencing what they are experiencing, then you're introducing empowered change for somebody, you know?
Yeah.
That's a game changer. That's a real big game changer.
That's a great point, because it really comes down to awareness. And once you have that awareness, there's always a choice. But the choice is that you really, now that you're aware and you see these things, that the choice is to be on a higher vibrational level. And I love what you're saying here, because I remember when I first heard about, well, you know, we choose our parents. I'm like, oh, well, what was I, insane? We don't necessarily remember when we come back that we made this choice, but we made this choice because we wanted to have this challenge. So you mentioned growing up in an alcoholic family. My father pretty much drank every day from the time he was 13 up until the time he was 68, when he went into an assisted living facility, and he couldn't drink anymore. So I grew up with that. So there was a lot of challenges with that, of course. And I just, for the longest time, I'm like, you know, why is he doing this? Why won't he change? Doesn't he love me? And blah, 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 blah. When I came upon my journey of awakening, I realized that this is something, you know, that he didn't ask for. And just to even bring it full circle with the forgiveness, his dad died when he was 13. He woke up in bed. He fell asleep in bed with his dad. He woke up, his dad was dead. He never progressed, my father, never progressed past the age of 13. And it took me until I was at 40 something years old, I think, to realize, hey, you know, maybe even later, that this is the best he had. And that's a choice that he made also. But the bottom line is, I had that awareness. I take responsibility for my life because I have kids also. And I thank him and I thank myself for choosing him, because you know what? I wouldn't be doing the work that I'm doing now, raising great, responsible, authentic, beautiful boys and helping other men and boys to find the same if I wasn't in that and other situations. So that's such a great point, that we do choose the situations we come in, and we do really need to wake up, take responsibility, and raise our vibration up so we can be in service and we can be in love and we can be in light. So thanks for bringing that up. Yeah.
You know, I want to just reflect to you and to those who are listening, what I just pulled right out of what you just said is your ability by the time you were in your 40s to begin connecting to your sacred feminine energy, which is compassion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Allowed you to create change in your life because you could hold compassion for your father. And I'm sure being a father definitely will open up the door to the expansion of love in the heart. Mm-hmm. And when the love expands in the heart, you're able to feel, you're able to tap into, hopefully, that well of compassion that is there but needs to be activated. It needs to be fed. It needs to flourish. And so it's, you know, it's a true testament to you and your work with connecting with the sacred feminine.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And one of the reasons that I wanted to invite you to join this interview series, in addition to the fact that I totally respect you as a person, as a woman, as a birth giver, as a light worker, I want the guys to hear the perspectives of someone like yourself who is grounded, awake, and aware, and authentic, because I sit in circle with the guys, and a lot of times there's like, oh, well, why this, and she did that, and, you know, the blaming and the finger pointing and like this, screw this, you know, because the communication is just really not there a lot of times between men and women. And, you know, because we are talking about men and women, this goes with whatever, you know, same-sex marriages, whatever, but I'm just going to refer to like heterosexual relationships right now for the purposes of, so the men are asking like, hey, you know, what are we doing wrong? Either that or they're pointing fingers and all. So from your perspective, what's wrong with men? No. That's not really the question, but how do we communicate better? How do we find that place where we're not pointing fingers at each other, where we both are embodying what it takes to listen and to feel and to emote and to be in that space where we could communicate on a soul level, that we're really communicating. We're not getting angry. We're not raising our voices. We're not pointing fingers. So from your perspective, what would you suggest to men that we can do to support the women and, in essence, really supporting ourselves in the bigger picture of good, healthy relationships?
You want me to give all the keys right here, huh?
We've got 12 more hours to go. So, yes, okay. Lay it out for us, sister.
All right. Well, you know, the first thing that I would say is that to be in a loving, open, communicative relationship with anyone, one has to embody self-love. Mm. When someone is willing to look at their emotional body, then they're going to understand where their limiting thoughts are in their mental body. And how do you do that? Well, I think the quickest way to address this is with energy healing. Because energy healing addresses the human energetic field, which is, you know, this beautiful auric energy field, which is the body of our soul. But it includes our emotional body, our mental body, our spiritual body, and all this is the energy around and through the physical form. and you don't get taught this in kindergarten, you know, people don't really start understanding their energy, body, and their emotions unless they are on a conscious path to seek it. So the seeker will understand that, oh, this is out there. So I would say for any man who wants to change his relationships, he has to begin with his relationship with himself.
Great point.
And, you know, it's like, are you blaming yourself for something? Are you blaming her for something? Do you feel inadequate, unworthy in some way? And are you projecting that onto her? Are you in a relationship out of guilt, out of obligation? Or do you truly want to be in it? And do you truly know that you have the power to change something if you don't like it? If you're in a rut, or if you're in some kind of rhythm with a partner and you don't speak up about what it is that's aggravating you, what it is that's turning you off, what it is that's frustrating you, and you're unable to communicate, how can you have union with another? Because communicate means to come with union. If you can't have with union within you to be responsible to say, wow, this is really bothering me. She's not a mind reader. If I don't communicate to her, how will she ever know? You know, it's like I'm inviting men to offer the invitation to your partner to say, let's not do it like anybody else is doing it. Let's do it the way we want to do it. So what's the way we want to do it? You know, and let's find what that is and let's create it together. So break the molds down, break the templates of how you think relationship is supposed to be, and to turn inward to a place of authenticity. Like, what is it? What are my deal breakers? First of all, do you know what your deal breakers are in a relationship? Like, you know, if someone smokes, I'm not going to be with them because I don't like tobacco. Okay.
For me, if her mustache is thicker than mine, you know, I'm flexible, but no.
Yeah. So there's certain deal breakers, you know what I mean? And so if you can become aware of what it is that is important to you, what would be a deal breaker? What is essential that you need in a relationship? You know, like maybe you need open communication with a partner. Maybe you need a partner who is reserved and quiet because that's the kind of energy you like. Maybe you need a partner who's super outgoing and likes to talk to everybody and is, you know, has that kind of energy. Maybe you need 3 hugs a day. Like, what is it that you need? You have to ask yourself, what are your essentials in a relationship, you know? And you can't assume that your partner is going to be in agreement with it. But if you bring it to your partner and say, hey, this is kind of important to me. I think that what I really need is this. And, you know, so it's like making agreements with your partner.
Great points in there. I totally agree with all of that, especially the communication is so key, because there's so many times that there's miscommunications and, you know, things blow up, and then you calm down and you speak to each other in a loving way, which would have been nice to do in the first place. Mm-hmm. And you realize, hey, that's not even what she meant. Hey, I didn't mean that, you know. And so the communication really is so vital and key. And I love really how you started off with the self-love. You're right. If you don't love yourself, if you don't respect yourself, if you don't really honor your own self, you can't really be in a good relationship with anybody else. So I love that part. One thing that I'm going to ask you about that I didn't hear that I really fully believe is essential is trust. You have to have that trust in a relationship, because without the trust, for me anyway, a lot of these other things, they just don't translate as they should. So how do you feel about the trust issues?
It's essential. Essential. Trust, truth, and honesty is essential. If you don't have trust, truth, and honesty, then you shouldn't be in a relationship with somebody.
Yeah.
Because you're not grown up enough to handle it.
Yeah.
That's kind of harsh what I just said.
Well,
but
you're right though.
If you really want a relationship that you can be in a place of appreciation and adoration and deep love with someone, if you cannot be honest with yourself, you cannot be honest with them. And and sometimes you think you're being honest with yourself, and that's why it goes back to you doing your energy healing. Because if you don't do your energy healing, most people will, I'm going to say you, but most people would operate from a place of reaction. Reaction means that whatever's going on in your world, if you have a reaction and it's a heated like energy, it's because there's something living energetically within the layers of your energy field that hasn't come to a place of neutrality. It has not come to a place of forgiveness, or it has not returned to love. So if you're a highly reactive person, or you get angry and frustrated easily, or you withdraw and you run away, then you have not done your work. And I mean this for women and men, across the board. Any person who's looking for a true, elevated, sacred relationship with another must walk on the sacred path themselves. Meet what they need to meet. And it doesn't mean you have to have it all done before you meet somebody, but it means that when you enter into a relationship with someone, something attracted you to someone, and there's this energy, right? This magnetic that you get attracted to someone, and it's beyond just the physical form. On a soul level, there could be this remembering because you had some kind of connection in a past life, or it could be that there's vibrationally, you're both vibrating in the same bandwidth of light, which makes you be drawn to that person because it's complementary. There's a complementary energy there. And that complementary energy is exciting when you meet someone that you have that vibe with, okay? Because you're vibrating in that same bandwidth. But you have to be willing to say you're sorry.
Yeah, for sure.
If
that's key. Yes, you're right.
If you can't say you're sorry, and saying sorry doesn't mean you're taking the blame. Sorry means, wow, that got out of hand, didn't it? I'm really sorry that you were suffering because I was suffering too. I'm really sorry that we had this misunderstanding. I'm sorry that I forgot, that I didn't see that. And I'm going to do my best to remember this, so that we can begin to change our patterns with each other.
Yeah.
But if somebody feels hurt by you, if you hurt me and you didn't mean to hurt me, but I feel really like, whew, that was intense for me. And you just say to me, well, get over it already, all right? Because I didn't mean it that way. Then I'm not feeling your sacred feminine. I'm not feeling your compassion toward the fact that I'm suffering and I'm in pain here. And even though it may have nothing to do with you, it may be because of my relationship with my old person, or with my mother or my father, or something else, that whatever happened to me in the past with whoever it was, I didn't fully heal it. And there's still that trigger within me. You, as my partner, are going to mirror to me, because that's what partners do. They mirror your unhealed wounds. And so you have to stop blaming your partner for being your perpetrator.
Yeah.
Instead, look at your partner as a partner who is helping you to grow. And your ability to say sorry to me will allow me to open my heart to you. But if you cannot say sorry to me, my heart won't open to you and I won't trust you.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up because that comes up a lot in circle. And what I see is ego. I'm like, dudes,
Yes.
get out of your own head, get out of your ego. It's not about, you and I'm not going to say I'm sorry, she was wrong. It's not about that. And I tell the guys too, even if you don't want to apologize for this specific act, apologize for hurting her feelings, for hurting her sensibility, for whatever it is that you have to do, just to show that compassion that you are on a higher vibrational way of being. And it's such a powerful thing to do. Like
Yeah.
the Hawaiian prayer of forgiveness, the Ho'oponopono. It's so simple. It's four short phrases. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you and thank you. That's it. And it holds so much energy, so much power of forgiveness. And when you forgive, you're forgiving for yourself just as much as you are for the other person, because it doesn't hold anything over you anymore. So if you want to forgive because you're selfish, then just forgive because you're selfish. but it really is really important to be able to have that dignity and grace and have your ego at bay to be able to say, yes, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings, and take that moment and be mindful enough, because otherwise we don't elevate to a higher vibrational way of being. And all the things you're talking about energetically and all, if we can't have that dignity and selflessness to be able to say, I'm sorry, then you're right. You really have to be able to do that and stop and think like, hey, is this who I really am? There's a saying, is it so important? Would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? And I know in my life, when I let go of that, like, well, I'm right, because really I always am right. But, I've gotten over that, and you have to have that humble humility, and things just go so much smoother in relationships, and people will really respond to that. And it's got to be authentic, because that's the other thing I will add. And what you were saying in relationships is being authentic, being yourself. And yes, you have that attraction, and then you fall in love, and usually within the first 2 years it's wonderful, and then after that they say things start being taken for granted and all, if you don't work at the relationship. So I remember when I got married many moons ago, and my friends would be like, well, is she letting you do this? Is she letting you do that? And I never resonated with that, because to me, in a sacred relationship, you don't let each other do anything. You communicate, you support each other, and it's not like she let me do this, I let her do that. You support what each other needs, and you come back together as one. So that sacred, communication and being together is just really something that I think we really need to work on. So I'm glad you're sharing your wisdom and experiences with that as well.
Well, power and control. If there's somebody in the relationship that wants power and control, it comes from insecurity.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
let's just name that if someone is trying to control you, manipulate you, or wants to be dominant over you, it's really about insecurity. So what is making that person insecure? And it may be because they got betrayed in a past relationship. And so that's why, if someone can look at their own issues and forgive it, and, then you're going to be able to have a better relationship with someone else. So again, forgiveness, the Ho'oponopono prayer, and being able to forgive is essential if you want to feel empowered in your life. There's no way that you can have an empowered life, my belief, is if you're not forgiving the people around you and you're not willing to forgive yourself. So it's essential to forgive yourself and to forgive others. And in that way, you really begin to grow and evolve and have more humility. And you become the creator in your relationship with your partner, And that thing about, that magnitude of energy that draws you to the other in that dance of love, right? That energy that comes, it's intense, it's beautiful, it's exciting, it's wonderful. That level of electrical magnetic attraction is, works its magic to draw two together, but it also works its magic to evoke healing in your partner. And so you will be on a path with someone where your shit will come up. Can I say that?
It's all good.
Your stuff will come up and their stuff will come up. But if you love each other enough and if you trust each other enough, you will understand that it's essential for your relationship to grow and you won't be afraid of it. So the deep dive that you experience when your partner triggers you, that's why you say, thank you, I love you. Because they are mirroring to you that unconscious part of you that you can't see. And it's not like they're even that wise to know that they're doing it to you, but it is the power of electromagnetic fields that come together. That's what it does.
Yeah.
So there has to be an agreement between two people that when I fall, you will catch me. When you fall, I will catch you. And in that way,
whether you're upset with me or not.
Exactly. But if you run out the door and you abandon me, I'm going to have an issue with that.
Well, you know what? That's what guys do. Guys retreat. It becomes too much, and we retreat. We're like, okay, we go to our man cave. We just leave. And one essential thing that I remember reading in Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Even if you're going to do that, tell her,
yes,
I'm upset now. I will be back. We will discuss this afterwards. I can't focus now. I can't discuss it now. I will be back. Instead of just leaving and saying, boo, So it's back to the communication, the courtesy, and expressing love.
That's respect. That's respect.
Love and respect.
Person enough to say, I am incapable of moving forward or being productive in any way. And I don't want to waste our time, and I don't want to say things that I don't mean. I need to pull myself out of this to get my balance, and then I promise you, I will come back so we can work this out. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I thank you. Trust me, I will be back.
It's so simple.
All right.
But we don't always do it.
Well, that can be part of the agreement that you make. Like you're not going to go to bed angry with each other, or that you are going to give each other the hug and the touch that says, I know we haven't figured this out yet, but I'm going to be here. Trust me that I'm not leaving you and I'm not going to abandon you, even though I feel like running out the door. And believe me, they probably feel like running too or hiding. And that running energy, when you feel like, oh my God, I got to get out of here, that's when you know there's a jewel in it.
Mm.
A real jewel is waiting for you if you are willing to stay and go into the alchemical fire with your partner. That is the relationship alchemy.
For me, one of the most cathartic, transformative, heart-opening experiences ever was becoming a dad, and having two boys. I actually raised 3 boys, and just the overwhelming sensation of A, responsibility, but B, like what a magnificent. It's the closest we don't know as men, to be life givers in that sense. Yes, we are co-creators, but for you women as the life givers, to carry a human being in your womb for over 9 months, that in itself deserves the utmost respect, because we as men have absolutely no concept, really, just what goes into that. So you are a mom, you do have a son, so I look at that and I look at you and I say, okay, Amaji, And I met your son. He's a beautiful, authentic, awesome, powerful man in his own right. So what would you like to impart to, anybody out there who has children, who has boys? Because boys are, they're easy in some sense and they're not so easy in other senses, and especially the way they're reared and the mindset of today. So what would you offer to young parents even who have boys, or even if their boys are older? Because there's a lot of, troubled youth out there. I work with a lot of young guys who are not just bullied, but they're bullies also. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times it goes back to, well, my dad hit me, or, a lot of environmental and family rearing stuff. So I really feel strongly that, anybody could have a kid, but not everybody could be a good parent. So what would you want to share with the parents, especially who have boys, how they could support their young men into being all the things we're talking about here?
Wow, that's a powerful question and a really potent one.
An important one.
Yeah, so important. So I have a 25-year-old son and I have a 21-year-old daughter. And interestingly enough, they're both, my son has a lot of strength in his sacred feminine energy, meaning he's highly creative. He's very empathic. He is very able to heal. He has healing capabilities within him. And my daughter, my little goddess of a daughter, she has the strength of the masculine. She is very action-oriented and very clear-headed and organized. And, and so it's like they have this beautiful balance that I'm really quite fortunate to have two beautiful children who have that balance of the masculine and feminine within them. And what I would say, especially for boys, our society needs some waking up and some changing and breaking of old templates that categorize males in one way and females in another way, where, the traditional roles of splitting the feminine and masculine. And I think the greatest thing that you can teach your son, that it's okay for him to have feelings. And how important it is for your boys to truly express how they feel and give them that space by being open and honest in a gentle, loving way, that you as a parent have had feelings of fear or guilt or disempowerment, or not feeling safe or feeling overwhelmed, and that this is a part of the human experience, that every human has feelings because we are emotional beings. And that emotion is something that doesn't need to control somebody, and it's not the truth. It's just an emotion that they're feeling and experiencing. But when you can teach a child that their feelings are not necessarily the truth, it's how they're feeling, but it's not the universal truth. If I feel unworthy, it doesn't mean that I am unworthy. If I feel afraid, it doesn't mean I'm in danger. And to be able to give children that understanding is key, because then they don't feel disempowered all the time by a vibrational, emotional energy that's moving through their field, that's moving through their energy body. It's pulsing. They can't get away from that feeling. They believe it to be true. And it scares the living daylights out of them. But when you can say to them, hey, I understand you're feeling this. I have felt that too. It's really hard. I'm so sorry. Let me sit next to you. Let me hold you. I promise you it's going to move, and we're going to find tools to help you to move this energy, but it's not the truth. You're feeling this because it's an energy that's living and vibrating in your energy field, but there are ways to move that out. That's why energy healing is so powerful.
Yeah.
Because you can then see what it is and you can transmute it. To transmute something is to bring something into a place of balance. When you transmute the fear, then safety can return. When you transmute the energy of shame, then a sense of worth and value can return. Okay? And that's important to share with your children, that they're not just a physical body, that they have a soul that carries energies with it. And you know, the truth is that we all carry a genetic body as well. And the genetic body is the unresolved, unhealed wounds and patterns of our mother and our father, and their mother and their father, and whatever they didn't, you know what I mean? So we as humans come into the world, and part of our service to our family, if we are walking an awakened path, is that when we do our healing, we are healing it for the generations behind us and the generations in front of us. So we heal it for our parents, our grandparents, and we heal it for our children, so that our children don't have to carry that. And that is why I would say, for any parent who is going to bring a life into the world, are you willing to do your work so that your children don't have to do it for you?
Yeah, a hold of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. Such a great point. You know, again, I can only speak for myself. Once you have that awareness, and we talk about karma and energetics and all. And again, I love both my parents and all. No disrespect, they had their limitations. So being awake and aware, I looked at those things. And you know, my boy's perfect. Is anybody perfect? I don't know, but they really are very grounded, loving, creative, and in touch with their feminine side, and they know how to treat their partners. They're never disrespectful in the ways that you see today, and they listen, they speak their truth. And I always put the caveat, because I taught them, open your throat chakra, open your Vishuddha, speak your truth with compassion, because they got that lesson very quickly. Oh, I get to speak my truth, and they spoke their truth. I said, okay, speak your truth with compassion. You don't just get to say anything you want to your pops here. You've spoken a lot about energetics and, you know, the sacred alchemy and all. And I just want our audience to know that you have generously are offering an amazing gift. So I'd like you to speak a little bit about that.
When you reach a certain level of vibration, can begin to tap into languages of light. If you're interested in languages of light, then there's probably something in you that's like, wow, yeah, you probably will be able to accomplish it. If you do the healing work and the empowerment work to activate your self and your evolution, spiritually speaking. Anyway, so if I was to speak in the language of light, it might sound like this. Undore saranam bargitar sarkil isheta kusarana ishelela il aranam bretet kusa seet at undakal jeronoma de giselela hil aroma breshet kusaranam il reshendakal il ali il ala rahasurunomar gider sarkim reshendukus selela hil aranam brakiter sorkurish etkil il alalahum. So that's a little example of speaking in light language. Now, it's not a language that is interpreted word for word like English, like if I was speaking Spanish and I was going to then translate into English or vice versa. Instead, the language of light comes from a much higher realm. So I'm streaming from 7th dimension or above to bring forth this language, this vibration. It's a transmission that enters the energy field. And when I really stream a lot of light language, it can be used to dismantle an energy in the energy field. If I'm working with someone and say we want to move away some dissonance or disharmony or something really heavy, fear-based in the energy field, then my language comes forth in a very strong way to dismantle those energies. And if I'm here to create divine alignment, then my language will stream in a way that begins to bring divine alignment or sacred geometry into the energy field. So what we've created as a gift to you all is a 23-minute recording of 4 sound codes. And these sound encodements are to support the activation of the co-creator within you. So the 4 sound codes are sound codes of evolution, resolution, sanctity, and expansion. These are the 4 sound codes.
Sounds delicious to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I remember the first time that I experienced you speaking in the light language, and I had no idea what you were saying other than the fact that how I felt and the vibrations that really imbued in me, like, wow, I don't know what she's literally saying, but I felt like a real upliftment and all. So it's powerful stuff. So thank you for offering that, to the people. That's awesome.
Pleasure. We thank you so much, Waska, for inviting us. A real honor. And we really appreciate your respect of our work and what we're bringing to the world. It means a lot.
This has really warmed my heart, Amaji. Thank you for being open and beautiful and authentic and sharing your wisdom with the audience. It was really wonderful. So thank you. And we will certainly do this again.
Yes.
Yeah. So I hope everyone enjoyed our time today and enjoyed the wisdom of Amaji. Be sure to click on the link and download her free gift and connect with her. She offers some really wonderful, energetic healing modalities, as you could see from her open heart and beautiful ways. And I invite you to tune in tomorrow for another wisdom keeper who will also share their wisdom ways with you to help you to heal and to reach your truest, fullest potential. So until then, be well and illuminate your path with loving kindness.